Tonight we realized reality TV secrets are dangerous because, honestly, apparently we might be keeping secrets from each other.
Oh my God, good morning, babes. By the time most of you hear this, it'll be the weekend, so Snark Squad, happy weekend, babes.
Happy weekend. Because, babes, we decided to spice things up tonight. And, babes, the frozen palomas are officially on deck.
They are very much on deck, and honestly, looking at the structural integrity of the frost on this glass right now, I am already feeling the physiological shift.
It is an immediate mood booster. Like, I
Yeah.
take one sip, and I am suddenly a different person.
There is an actual documented science to why frozen drinks instantly reset your brain. Like, it is not just the tequila.
Wait, really? Is it a medical thing?
It literally is. When you consume a frozen beverage, the rapid drop in temperature against the roof of your mouth sends this immediate signal to your hypothalamus.
Oh, wow. Okay, Dr. Science.
No, listen, your body thinks it needs to regulate its core temperature, right? Which triggers a sudden rush of blood flow and an accompanying spike in dopamine. You are literally shocking your nervous system out of whatever petty grievances you accumulated during the work week.
That explains so much. I mean, I always say frozen palomas are basically officially becoming our shared summer personality, but now I know I am just actively manipulating my hypothalamus.
You are biohacking with tequila.
I completely embrace it.
Yeah.
It gives vacation energy. It gives total evasion of responsibility. And frankly, we need that reset.
Yeah.
Because watching this current season of Jersey Shore Family Vacation, which, by the way, is incredibly only 2 episodes in, is an exercise in managing secondary anxiety.
It is stressful. You sit there watching people who have shared houses and paychecks and deep trauma for over a decade just look each other directly in the eye and lie.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it got me thinking about us. It got me thinking about you, the listener. Like, are there secrets we are keeping from each other right now? Because I feel the need for a massive, chaotic confession session.
Oh, we are pivoting straight into the mess. I respect the aggressive transition.
You know you love it. Spill.
You want a confession? Fine. I will give you something highly analytical and deeply petty, which, perfectly aligns with my entire worldview.
I'm bracing myself.
You know how everyone has that one friend or follows that one influencer who is tyrannically obsessed with their Instagram aesthetic? Like, the grid is flawless.
Yes, the digital avatar. The people who make you feel like your own life is somehow cluttered and neon by comparison.
Exactly. The color palette is this muted, sepia-toned minimalism. They project this aura of effortless, curated luxury. Well, I have a friend who operates exactly like this.
Okay, I think I know who you're talking about.
Keep it quiet. She constantly posts these supposedly candid, highly luxurious mirror selfies in her bathroom. But here is the secret I am keeping from her, and frankly, from our entire social circle.
What are you doing?
I zoom in. Every single time she posts, I bypass the outfit, I bypass the carefully placed cappuccino, and I zoom entirely in on the background architecture.
Wait, stop. Are you zooming in on her tiles?
Yes, and the grout between her subway tiles is consistently, undeniably filthy. It is covered in mildew.
You are zooming in on the domestic infrastructure of people's selfies. That is bordering on investigative journalism.
It is a sociological observation. It fascinates me. I sit there looking at this image and my brain immediately calculates the cognitive dissonance.
The cognitive dissonance of the mildew.
I know for a fact that she spent 45 minutes choosing the right filter, adjusting the contrast, and writing a caption about, protecting her peace and clearing her space.
Oh my God, the clearing her space captions are always the worst.
Right. Yet she could not dedicate 3 minutes to applying bleach to a toothbrush and scrubbing her shower wall. It drives me completely insane, and I secretly hold it against her.
You are so petty.
It completely shatters the illusion of the digital self she is trying to sell. Every time I see a new post, I just whisper to my phone, clear your grout.
Yeah. You are looking for the cracks in the facade. Literally the cracks in the grout. But honestly, I cannot even judge you because my secret is rooted in an entirely different kind of delusion.
Oh, please share. What are you hiding?
While you are analyzing tile maintenance, I am actively building massive imaginary romantic infrastructures based on entirely mundane interactions. You know the coffee shop I go to with the exposed brick?
I know it intimately. You spend an ungodly amount of your disposable income there.
I do, and there's a specific barista who works the morning shift. I'm not going to use his name because in the cinematic universe of my brain, we are already engaged.
Oh, babes, no.
Yes. Listen, last week I went in to get my iced latte. He handed the plastic cup across the counter, and our fingers brushed.
A finger brush, groundbreaking.
Not a full grab. just a momentary, highly charged friction. And he looked at me and said, "Have a really good day." But the cadence of his voice was not standard retail compliance.
Standard retail compliance.
It wasn't. It
Yeah.
felt soulful. It felt like he was peering directly into my emotional core.
I'm going to stop you right there and inject a massive dose of reality. Did he have a tip jar or an iPad screen prompting a 20% gratuity sitting directly between the two of you?
I mean, yes, the iPad was there, but
But if so, what you experienced was not a soulful connection. It was a highly optimized customer service technique designed to maximize the transaction.
you are actively destroying my romance, but I'm going to ignore your logic. Because I walked out of that coffee shop, and for the entire 20-minute walk back to my apartment, I planned the entire trajectory of our life together.
Of course you did.
I mentally selected the venue for our rustic chic wedding. I debated the merits of adopting a rescue greyhound versus a golden retriever. I mapped out a 30-year timeline based entirely on a 2-second finger brush over a plastic lid.
This is a sickness.
But wait, here's where it gets genuinely messy.
Yeah.
That same night, I was obligated to attend a massive, incredibly loud group dinner for a birthday.
Oh, the multi-person group dinner.
The kind of dinner where no one looks at the menu prices, the music is too loud to hear the person across from you, and you know you are going to end up subsidizing someone else's expensive wine habit when the check gets split 12 ways.
The absolute worst social obligation in modern existence. The multi-person split check is a financial hostage situation.
Exactly. And I was so emotionally depleted from the imaginary relationship I had just built and subsequently maintained all afternoon that I simply could not face the group dinner.
So what did you do?
I lied. I sent a text to the group chat claiming the sudden onset of a debilitating migraine.
You played the migraine card.
I said I needed absolute darkness and 0 screen time. And then, the moment the text was delivered, I ordered pad thai, turned my 70-inch television to maximum brightness, and consumed 3 straight hours of the most chaotic reality television available.
You faked a neurological event to watch garbage television.
I did. I faked a migraine so I could sit in my pajamas and eat noodles.
Honestly, faking a medical ailment to avoid the financial trauma of a group dinner so you can watch other people scream at each other on television is not a crime. It is advanced self-preservation. You protected your domestic peace.
Thank you. I felt so guilty but also so relaxed.
But, thinking about these little secrets, the zooming in on the grout, the faked migraines, it leads directly into a much larger, much heavier hypothetical that this season actually brought up for me.
Oh, I know where you're going with this.
We are watching these cast members navigate massive, life-altering secrets, and neither of us have children. We do not have partners right now. But let us play this out logically.
Okay, let's spiral.
Let us assume, for the sake of the argument, that we are utilizing surrogates. Because let us be very clear with the listener, our physical bodies are not optimized for the structural demands of a 9-month gestation. No shade, babes.
Oh, absolutely not. My spine would dissolve. The sheer physical toll of pregnancy, the displacement of internal organs, the nausea. I have immense respect for anyone who undergoes that physiological marathon, but I know my limits.
Totally. So the hypothetical is this. The surrogate calls. The implantation was successful. The pregnancy is confirmed. Who are you telling first?
Oh my God. Okay, you are going to hate my answer, so I'll go first.
Paint the picture for me.
I am an emotional processor, right? The moment I get that phone call, I am going to immediately burst into tears, and I am calling you. You are the absolute first phone call.
I appreciate that I am the first call.
I would probably be standing in the middle of a Target aisle, holding a tiny, neutral-toned onesie, completely overwhelmed by the gravity of creating human life.
A beige onesie, naturally.
Obviously beige.
Yeah.
And then I would not immediately call my extended family. I would pivot straight to the Snark squad.
Wait, you would tell the internet before your mother?
Yes, because
Yeah.
I would orchestrate a highly aesthetic, incredibly cryptic, soft launch on the grid.
Yeah.
I am envisioning a black and white photo, 2 adult matcha lattes on a marble table, and 1 tiny glass bottle of organic milk.
This is deeply unhinged.
No caption explaining it, just a single sparkle emoji. I want the comment section to become a forensic investigation.
See, you are romanticizing the concept of the launch. You view information as a narrative tool. I view information as a logistical liability.
A logistical liability. You are so cold.
The millisecond you post a cryptic photo of a baby bottle, you lose all control of your environment. Your mother is calling you in tears. Your cousins are texting you. People you have not spoken to since high school are suddenly in your direct messages demanding details.
The family group chat would absolutely detonate. It would be a chaotic, barrage of notifications.
Exactly. And if you are using a surrogate, you do not have the physical evidence of a pregnancy to dictate the timeline. You have to manufacture the entire narrative of the timeline yourself.
So what is your plan, Mr. Logistics?
My strategy is CIA-level compartmentalization. I am keeping it a total absolute secret from everyone.
Everyone.
And I mean everyone. My family, my friends, the internet. I argue for absolute radio silence until the very last possible moment. I would not tell a single soul until the infant is physically crowning in the delivery room or the surrogate is officially handing over the child.
You would hide the existence of a new human being from your own mother for 9 entire months. That is sociopathic.
It is not sociopathic. It is an impenetrable boundary. Think about what those 9 months actually entail when you tell people.
Joy, celebration.
No, it is 9 months of unsolicited, invasive advice. It is 9 months of people debating your name choices. It is a constant stream of terrifying articles sent to your inbox about sleep regression, developmental milestones, and hidden toxins in baby wipes.
Okay, the hidden toxins articles are aggressive.
I refuse to subject my nervous system to that. I will emerge from the shadows, hand a fully swaddled infant to my mother, and declare, surprise, you are a grandmother. The shock value alone bypasses the anxiety phase.
You are incredibly cold, but when I look at the absolute carnage that unfolds on these shows when people reveal their secrets prematurely, I almost understand your logic.
Thank you.
There is an economy of attention in reality television, and when you share a secret, you are suddenly the main character, but you also become the primary target. And honestly, Dabes, watching these specific people deal with these secrets, it has triggered a massive nostalgia spiral for me.
Oh, the energy of this season is incredibly heavy. It feels very final. You can sense the cast members calculating the remaining runway of their television careers.
Yes, knowing that the era of this specific kind of television is eventually going to end puts me entirely in my feels.
If you think about it, these shows have essentially served as our emotional support networks.
They really have.
They have documented the shifting landscape of American culture. They deserve to be studied, like they deserve immortality.
If we are going to talk about the foundational pillars of sociological television, we have to look at the entire landscape, the shows that completely rewired how we consume human behavior.
Right, like you have the Real Housewives franchise, which essentially created the blueprint for monetizing female interpersonal conflict and luxury. The absolute titans of the industry. And you have Married to Medicine.
Married to Medicine is brilliant because it blends the luxury of the housewives with actual professional stakes. But then you look at the extremes, right? The shows that push the absolute boundaries of human audacity.
You are talking about the TLC and WE TV industrial complex, 90 Day Fiancé, and Love After Lockup.
The ultimate mess.
Those are not just television shows. They are grueling psychological experiments. The sheer delusion required to mortgage your home to finance a visa for someone you have only ever communicated with through a translation app is staggering.
Staggering. And we eat it up every week.
But if we are talking about the masterpiece of the current moment, the show that just delivered an episode that belongs in the reality TV Louvre, we have to unpack Jersey Shore Family Vacation, Season 9, Episode 2.
Yes. Say yes to the dress. Babes, the logistics of this single episode gave me a stress headache. We need to break down every single angle. Let us set the scene.
Set the scene for the Snark Squad.
We are at Gabriella's Italian Steakhouse in Red Bank, New Jersey. The occasion is a first birthday party for Mike the Situation and Lauren's daughter, Luna.
Okay, before we even get to the primary drama, I need to analyze the venue choice. Hosting a first birthday party for a toddler at a high-end Italian steakhouse is a masterclass in performative reality TV milestones.
It really is so extra.
A 1-year-old does not require a dry-aged ribeye. A 1-year-old requires a brightly colored piece of cardboard and a nap.
A nap and some mashed peas.
But in the ecosystem of reality television, milestones are not about the child. They are about providing a sophisticated backdrop for the adult cast members to generate conflict. It is a fabricated arena.
It is entirely an arena. There is family everywhere. There is a massive cake. People are in semi-formal attire. And amidst all of this celebration of life, where is Angelina?
Tell him where she is.
She has removed herself from the narrative of the birthday party, and she is locked inside the bathroom of the steakhouse. And she is not just hiding. She is actively taking 6 separate pregnancy tests.
6. I had to pause the television and process the sheer mechanics of this moment. Who brings a half-dozen pregnancy tests to a toddler's birthday lunch?
Right.
Walk with me through the timeline of her morning. She wakes up, she applies her makeup, She selects an outfit appropriate for a televised steakhouse event, and then she makes the conscious decision to fill her handbag with an industrial supply of first response sticks.
Those boxes are bulky. Like, she could not have used a standard clutch. She must have had a massive tote bag just aggressively filled with diagnostic medical equipment.
It's absurd.
But you have to understand the psychology of what she is doing. Angelina is caught in a cycle of needing absolute confirmation before she allows herself to believe something good is happening.
That is actually a very fair point.
She takes 6 tests because 1 positive result feels like a mistake. 2 feels like a coincidence. She needs overwhelming data. And when she gets that data, who is the very first person she pulls into the bathroom to share this incredibly vulnerable, life-altering news with?
Mike. She pulls Mike the situation into the steakhouse bathroom. The man who is historically, biologically, and professionally incapable of retaining confidential information.
Literally the worst person she could have picked.
He is the preeminent gossip architect of the Eastern Seaboard, and she hands him the loaded weapon of her pregnancy.
But she did not plan it. You could see the raw shock on her face. She was completely untethered from reality in that moment. And despite the chaos, I actually found it incredibly moving.
Moving?
Yes. She looks directly at the camera lens and says, "This could be my fairy tale, my path, my baby." It was a moment of pure, unedited vulnerability.
I will concede that the vulnerability was authentic. She was visibly vibrating with disbelief. She literally uttered the phrase, "There is no way that it just happened naturally."
She was in shock.
But any grace or emotional resonance of that moment was immediately obliterated by her next logistical decision. Because what does she do the millisecond she accepts the reality of the 6 positive tests?
She initiates the phone call. She pulls out her cell phone while still standing inside the public restroom of the steakhouse, and she calls the father.
She does not just call him, she places him on speakerphone while a television production crew is recording the audio, and she announces, "I am officially, definitely pregnant. We are having a baby."
On the speakerphone.
But the truly fascinating element here, the part that had my analytical brain doing backflips, is how the production company had to handle this. The man on the other end of the phone is not a contracted cast member. He has not signed a release form.
Right.
So the editors literally caption him on the screen as John Donor.
Babes, the moment the text John Donor flashed on the screen, I screamed. It is the most brilliantly shady legal workaround I have ever seen.
It is a necessity of modern reality television. Back in 2009, they would have just broadcast his voice and dealt with the fallout. Today, the legal infrastructure is entirely different. They have to protect his identity to avoid litigation, but they still need to utilize the audio because it is the emotional climax of the scene.
John Donor. I can't.
So they invent this moniker. But put yourself in that man's shoes. Imagine the sheer psychological terror. You are going about your Friday afternoon, you answer your phone, and you find out you are going to be a father.
Oh my God, the panic.
You are finding this out on speakerphone in a public restroom. And fundamentally that a boom mic is hovering inches above the woman delivering the news.
It is undeniably chaotic, but I have to push back on your judgment of her methodology here. You are analyzing this as if it is a normal situation happening to a normal person.
Because it should be.
But it's not. You have to contextualize this within the brutal 5-year emotional marathon Angelina has been running. She has been desperate for domestic stability. She went through a highly publicized, incredibly toxic divorce from Chris in 2022.
True.
She thought she found an exit strategy with Vinny 2.0. They get engaged on camera, and then that relationship completely disintegrates.
Right.
She's 39 years old. The biological clock is not just ticking. It is a siren.
It is blaring.
Literally 1 episode prior, she was talking about having a vial of donor sperm sitting in her refrigerator next to her groceries as a backup plan.
Oh, that sperm vial comment caused a massive public relations crisis for her. She had to issue statements on her Instagram stories clarifying the timeline and mechanics of her fertility plans because the audience backlash was so severe.
Exactly. She has been operating under a crushing amount of public scrutiny and private desperation. So for her to sit in that bathroom and look at those positive tests, like she didn't care about the boom mic, she didn't care that it was a steakhouse. She finally, after years of absolute mess, got the one piece of data she wanted most.
Okay, I understand the emotional relief. It is a massive paradigm shift for her life. But the narrative brilliance of this episode is not just Angelina's pregnancy. It is the immediate, almost Shakespearean irony of what happens next.
The alliance.
The formation of the most unlikely, mathematically impossible alliance in the history of the franchise.
The trauma bond between Angelina and Sammi's sweetheart, Giancola.
Two women who were historically arch nemesis. If you trace the genealogy of their conflict, it spans over a decade of brutal, deeply personal attacks.
I mean, they carried their stuff in garbage bags while fighting over air mattresses in season 1.
They have screamed at each other, they have engaged in physical altercations, they have publicly humiliated each other. And suddenly, by a sheer twist of biological fate, they find themselves huddled together in the corner of a restaurant, united by the exact same secret.
Because Sammi is also pregnant, and she has kept it entirely hidden from the rest of the cast.
The fact that she successfully hid a pregnancy from a group of people whose primary occupation is interrogating each other is astounding.
And she already knows the gender. She whispers to Angelina that it is a boy, that she saw him moving and grooving on the ultrasound monitor.
Moving and grooving.
When Sammi looked into the camera during her confessional and said, "I never thought I would ever be pregnant with Angelina," my eyes welled up. It was this beautiful acknowledgement of the passage of time.
It is incredible character growth. But we cannot just gloss over how Sammi arrived at this moment. We need to deeply analyze the grueling, almost barbaric medical logistics of Sammi's path to this pregnancy.
Oh, she's been through it.
Because her fertility journey is a masterclass in physical endurance. She has been incredibly transparent about her battles with endometriosis, but that is only a fraction of the reality.
The physical toll has been immense. The surgeries alone.
It is beyond just surgeries. We're talking about 5 separate invasive procedures to remove ovarian dermoid tumors. For the listener who might not be familiar with the pathology, a dermoid tumor is a bizarre cystic growth that can contain tissue like hair, skin, or teeth growing directly on the ovary.
Ugh, it sounds so painful.
Having 5 of them surgically excised over the years left Sammi with only 1.5 functioning ovaries. Her natural reproductive hardware was severely compromised. So she and her fiancé, Justin May, were forced into the brutal gauntlet of in vitro fertilization.
The IVF process is punishing enough on a healthy body, let alone one that has been surgically altered 5 times.
Precisely. They endured multiple rounds of egg retrievals, which requires injecting yourself with massive doses of synthetic hormones to hyperstimulate the remaining ovarian tissue. It causes intense bloating, mood swings, and physical pain.
And then the transfers.
Then they went through an embryo transfer, which resulted in a chemical pregnancy. A chemical pregnancy is uniquely devastating because you get the positive test, your body begins producing the hormones, you feel the psychological relief of success, and then within days, the pregnancy ceases to progress.
It is an emotional whiplash that destroys people.
Then she had another failed transfer in June, then another grueling egg retrieval in July.
I cannot even conceptualize the mental fortitude required to process that level of recurring grief and physical trauma, and then immediately pack a suitcase, put on a full face of makeup, and go film a reality television show where the central premise is getting blackout drunk and screaming at your roommates. Like, how do you compartmentalize that?
You compartmentalize it through absolute sociopathic deception. Which brings me to the greatest strategic maneuver of the season, Sammi's stealth mode. The way she manipulated the social environment of the cast trips while actively undergoing IVF treatments is legendary.
Oh my God, the fake wine protocol? I was legitimately taking notes during that segment.
Think about the sheer cognitive load required to execute that maneuver. Sammi is in a house where alcohol is the primary currency of participation. If you refuse a shot or if you ask for a mocktail, you immediately signal a deviation from the pack.
And in that house, a deviation is blood in the water.
The group will instantly swarm and demand to know why you are not drinking, and the immediate assumption is always pregnancy. So, to avoid the interrogation, Sammi reverse-engineered the social contract.
She is a mastermind.
She would accept a full glass of real white wine. She would carry it to the bathroom, physically pour the expensive alcohol down the sink, rinse the glass, and refill it with tap water. Then she would return to the common area and pantomime intoxication.
It is brilliant. It is sociological warfare disguised as a Pinot Grigio. She maintained her camouflage perfectly.
She did, but her flawless strategy begins to unravel the moment Angelina enters the equation, because now you have a shared secret. You have Sammi's pregnancy, you have the gender of Sammi's baby, and you have Angelina's brand new, chaotic pregnancy.
That much.
That is an unsustainable volume of classified information for 2 people to manage in a highly observed environment.
And their immediate reaction to holding this massive secret is to break the cardinal rule of reality television survival. They start isolating. They pull away from the main group. They huddle in corners. They whisper. They exchange knowing glances across the room.
It is the worst possible tactic. When you are in an enclosed environment with a group of hypervigilant individuals, isolation acts as a massive spotlight. It is akin to the Stanford prison experiment, but fueled by pasta and paranoia.
Pasta and paranoia. I'm dead.
The pack immediately senses that the dynamic has shifted.
So Angelina attempts a countermeasure. She tries to deploy a classic distraction technique. She walks into the group and loudly announces that the reason she is acting strangely is because she is spotting, and that she is incredibly stressed about the logistics of closing on her new house.
It is a fundamentally flawed lie, and the person who instantly dismantles it is Mike the Situation.
The human polygraph test.
We have to analyze Mike's function within this group. Why is Mike the ultimate gossip? It is not just because he likes drama. It is a highly evolved defense mechanism.
How so?
If Mike is constantly pointing the finger at someone else's mess, no one is looking at his life. He controls the flow of information to ensure he is never the subject of the interrogation. His radar for deception is unparalleled. The millisecond Angelina said the word spotting, you could physically see Mike's pupils dilate.
He knew instantly.
He knew. He played it cool for the cameras, but his internal algorithm had already calculated the truth.
And while Mike is running silent calculations, the Meatballs take a much more direct, blunt force approach to the investigation. Snooki and Deena do not use subtext. They use cornering tactics.
They physically trap them.
They trap them in the hallway outside the bathroom. And Snooki, who operates with absolutely zero filter, just points directly at Angelina's torso and interrogates her clothing choices.
Why are you wearing a baggy sweatshirt? Are you pregnant?
Unhinged behavior.
Try to imagine the sheer panic of having Snooki loudly whisper-shouting accusations at you while you're trying to hide the biggest secret of your life.
Snooki's complete lack of boundaries is a trauma response to early reality TV fame. She assumes everything is public domain. But honestly, I have to step in here and defend the fundamental rules of polite society.
You're real.
There is a golden rule regarding pregnancy speculation, and the Meatballs violate it constantly. You do not, under any circumstances, ask a woman if she is pregnant, period.
Unless she is actively crowning in front of you. Exactly. You could see the literal outline of an infant's foot kicking through the fabric of her sweater, and your only acceptable response is, "That is a lovely knit." You do not ask.
It's none of your business.
The physical changes a woman goes through are none of your business until she explicitly makes it your business.
But we are talking about the Jersey Shore, where the social contract is written in self-tanner, so polite society rules are null and void.
Completely void. But amidst all of this aggressive interrogation and secret-keeping, we did get a reprieve. A genuinely classic, almost romantic reality TV set piece. The say yes to the dress moment.
Ah, yes. The bridal logistics nightmare.
You call it a nightmare, I call it a fairy tale. Sammi goes wedding dress shopping at Castle Couture in Manalapan. She is preparing to marry Justin May in December of 2025 at the Park Chateau Estate, which is a stunning venue.
It is a beautiful venue. And watching her stand on that pedestal, surrounded by the tulle and the lace, with Snooki, Deena, and JWOWW sitting on the velvet couches offering support, I was entirely swept up in the bridal energy. It felt like a return to the classic glamour of early 2000s television.
It is visually pleasing, I will grant you that, but analytically, it is a mathematically impossible scenario.
Why are you applying math to a bridal gown? Let the woman have her princess moment.
Because the physics of the situation demand it. Sammi is pregnant, she is already beginning to show, and she is attempting to select a custom, rigidly structured wedding gown while trying to predict the exact geometric dimensions of her expanding body several months into the future.
It's a guessing game.
You are asking a tailor to hit a moving target.
It is stressful, yes. You can see the anxiety radiating off her, the societal pressure of the bridal uniform, this expectation that you must look sleek and snatched on your wedding day is directly colliding with the biological reality of her pregnancy. She is trying to reconcile two completely different versions of her body. And what silhouette does she ultimately choose to navigate this impossible scenario?
She selects a mermaid silhouette. A dress featuring a highly structured, form-fitting column top that aggressively hugs the torso, flaring out into a massive ballroom-style bottom.
And she looked absolutely breathtaking in it.
She looked beautiful, yes. But I must inject a heavy dose of realism here. Choosing an aggressively tailored, boned mermaid dress while actively expanding a human uterus is the bravest, most chaotic, deeply delusional choice a person can make.
Let her live.
I respect the sheer audacity of looking at a corseted column pop and thinking, yes, this rigid fabric will perfectly accommodate my third trimester ribcage expansion. It is a structural impossibility. She is going to need a team of structural engineers to get that zipper up in December.
You have absolutely zero romance in your soul. Let her live in the delusion. Sometimes you just have to buy the dress for the body you want to have and pray for a miracle. And speaking of praying for miracles and fresh starts, Angelina is also executing a massive geographic pivot.
The real estate reset.
She is officially packing up and moving out of Freehold Township. And let us be completely honest, that specific house held an incredibly dark energy for her.
It really did.
The police were dispatched to that residence multiple times for domestic disputes during her previous relationship. The walls of that house absorbed a tremendous amount of trauma. So she is abandoning it. She is relocating to a brand new, massive home in Homedale, putting her in close proximity to Jenni and Mike.
Looks like happiness, she said while walking through the empty rooms.
I am entirely here for Homedale, Angelina. It is a psychological reset masquerading as a real estate transaction. A new zip code, a baby on the way, severing the ties to the toxic past. I am rooting for this specific era of her life.
Geographic cures are rarely a permanent fix for internal chaos, but the change of scenery is necessary for the show's narrative progression. But while Angelina and Sammi are monopolizing the emotional bandwidth of the season with pregnancies and real estate, the rest of the cast is engaging in a different kind of survival.
The side hustles.
The entrepreneurial side hustles featured in this episode were panic-inducing.
JWOWW transforming into director Jenni is my favorite character arc of the decade.
She is directing her second independent horror film, and the production statistics she rattled off were enough to send my cortisol levels through the roof.
Walk me through the numbers again, because it sounded like a hostage situation.
It essentially is. She is operating on a 29-day shooting schedule. The minimum shift for her crew is 12 hours. She is personally working 80-hour weeks. She is managing a staff of over 40 people.
That is insane.
Yeah. But the absolute kicker, the detail that made my stomach drop, is the financing. She lost her primary investors. So to keep the production alive, she is self-funding the movie. She is pouring hundreds of thousands of her own liquid capital into an independent horror film.
The pressure of that is unfathomable. Independent filmmaking is already a massive financial gamble, but doing it with your own money while the cameras of another reality show are documenting your stress.
She looked directly into the confessional camera, completely devoid of glamour, and stated, "I am drowning, bitch. I am drowning." She confessed to waking up in the middle of the night with severe heart palpitations. The physiological stress of essentially...
Now, she is a Hollywood executive.
Yeah.
She is a female director controlling a massive crew and financing her own intellectual property. Yes, she is enduring heart palpitations, and yes, she is agonizing over being away from her children, but that is the reality of building an empire. I have immense respect for her evolution.
It is a remarkable pivot from reality star to legitimate creator. And speaking of pivoting, we have to look at the boys. The Chicago arc.
Pauly D and Vinny taking over the Midwest.
Vinny has officially transitioned into a touring stand-up comedian, and he is not just doing open mics, he is moving tickets. He is selling out 200 to 300 seat venues, adding second shows to accommodate the demand.
Good for him.
Stand-up is arguably the most brutal performance art in existence, and he is actually surviving it.
The best part of that entire segment is watching Pauly D interact with Vinny's success. Pauly is a massive, globally recognized DJ who plays for tens of thousands of people, but he is standing in the back of this tiny comedy club, beaming like a proud older brother.
It's very sweet.
The genuine affection in their dynamic is the emotional anchor of the show.
It is a palate cleanser from the toxicity. However, Pauly D is also responsible for the single most unhinged, biologically terrifying moment of the entire episode.
I know exactly what you're going to say, and I am already laughing.
The carb fast.
It is a tragedy.
We are back at the house. The tension regarding the unrevealed pregnancies is suffocating the room. The meatballs are interrogating everyone, and Pauly D, utilizing his classic distraction technique, just begins screaming about his dietary restrictions.
Out of nowhere.
He announces to the room that he has not consumed a single piece of bread in 95 days.
95 days without a complex carbohydrate.
Let us break down the biochemistry of what he is doing to his body. 95 days is an entire fiscal quarter. That is 3 months of total carbohydrate deprivation. When you eliminate carbohydrates for that long, your body completely depletes its glycogen stores.
He's basically running on fumes.
You enter deep ketosis. Your brain, which relies on glucose to function optimally, is running entirely on alternative fuel sources. What does the human body even operate on at that point? Hair gel and pure spite.
He is running on pure adrenaline and self-tanner. But seriously, carbohydrates are essential for serotonin production. They regulate your mood. Depriving yourself of a bagel for 3 months while living in a house full of people screaming at each other is a recipe for a psychological break.
That is exactly my point. The lack of glucose explains the heightened emotional volatility of the entire cast. 95 days without bread is not a diet. It is a crime against the central nervous system. I was horrified.
Only you would take a throwaway joke about Pauly D avoiding bread and turn it into a thesis on the central nervous system.
Yeah.
But honestly, the way he deployed that information just to shatter the tension in the room highlights exactly how heavy the secret keeping has become.
It's palpable.
And that brings us to an interesting debate.
Yeah.
When you look at this cast, or honestly any reality TV cast, the ability to control information is the ultimate power.
It is the currency of the realm. If you hold the secret, you hold the screen time.
Exactly. So let's analyze this in our first segment. Biggest secret keeper energy. Who in this ecosystem has the ultimate secret keeper energy? Who is sitting on a massive piece of information right now, completely undetected?
I have a very specific theory on this, and it applies directly to the Shorecast. I analyze behavior based on deflection.
Okay, hit me.
The person hiding the biggest secret is the person making the most noise about everyone else's life. And that person is Mike.
You are bringing this back to Mike. I completely reject this premise. Mike cannot keep a secret. His entire brand is predicated on his inability to withhold information.
You are falling for the camouflage. Listen to my logical framework. He acts like the town crier. He runs to the cameras, he stirs the pot, he initiates the interrogations.
Because he loves drama.
But a man who gossips with that level of ferocity is executing a highly coordinated smokescreen. If he keeps the audience and the cast hyper-focused on Angelina's pregnancy or Sammi's IVF timeline, no one is examining his own life. It is the perfect misdirection.
You are attributing mastermind-level strategy to a man who refers to himself in the third person while eating chicken cutlets. I fundamentally disagree.
Think about it, though.
If Mike possessed a massive, life-altering secret, the psychological burden of holding it would cause him to physically malfunction. He would accidentally leak it on his podcast, or he would explicitly tell the producers just to guarantee he secures the central storyline for the next season.
You don't think you can hold it in?
The man's ego requires the spotlight. He cannot hide in the shadows.
What about his business ventures? He is opening a massive aftercare facility. He secured a PHP license for a rehab center. Those are complex, high-stakes, logistical moves that he kept entirely quiet until the contracts were signed. He has the capacity for strategic silence when it benefits his empire.
Fine, I will concede that he can keep a corporate secret. He can hide an LOC. But a messy, interpersonal reality TV secret? No. He would eat a plate of funfetti cake and confess everything.
Okay, who is your pick, then?
If you want to talk about real secret keeper energy, you have to look outside the Shore House and look at the Bravo universe. Specifically, the housewives.
Elaborate on the Bravo theory.
In the housewives ecosystem, holding a secret is about contract negotiation. I strongly believe that right now, at this very moment, there is a housewife who is secretly back together with her toxic, terrible ex-husband.
Oh, absolutely.
They spent the entire previous season fighting. They had a highly emotional, tear-filled divorce arc at the reunion, but in reality, they're texting at 2 a.m., they're secretly hooking up, and she is violently guarding this secret, lying to her castmates just so she can use the shocking reconciliation as her primary storyline to secure her contract for next season.
That is incredibly cynical and also entirely accurate. Producer manipulation is an art form, and the veteran cast members know exactly how to pace the release of their trauma to maximize their episodic rate.
It is the business of reality television. And speaking of the business, watching Angelina navigate her fresh start in Home Dough and Sammi starting over with a new marriage and a baby, it really highlights why this genre of television is so resilient.
It never dies.
These shows are built on the promise of the fresh start, followed immediately by the inevitable train wreck.
Which is exactly why certain shows need to be preserved for historical study. Moving into our reality TV Hall of Fame segment, if we were to construct a physical reality TV Hall of Fame, a museum dedicated to the documentation of human behavior, what goes into the primary exhibit?
My wing of the museum is entirely dedicated to the preservation of female dynamics. I am inducting the Real Housewives franchise and Married to Medicine.
You're focused on the glamour and the interpersonal warfare.
I'm focused on the sociology of women.
Mhm.
These shows are not just about thrown wine glasses and expensive bags. They are longitudinal studies of female friendships. You watch these women over a decade.
A decade of fighting.
You watch them raise their children, navigate brutal public divorces, bury their parents, build multi-million-dollar businesses, completely destroy each other, and then rebuild those alliances. They show the incredible resilience of women. And aesthetically, the reunion dresses alone require a climate-controlled archive. They are our cultural anchors.
I acknowledge the cultural significance of the Bravo wing, but my wing of the Hall of Fame is dedicated to the absolute limits of human desperation. I'm inducting 90 Day Fiancé and Love After Lockup on the first ballot.
Those shows elevate my blood pressure to dangerous levels.
Because they feature unparalleled, terrifying delusion. You are watching the collapse of the American dream in real time.
It's so dark.
You have citizens draining their retirement accounts to send wire transfers to people they've only ever seen on pixelated video calls. You have individuals renting luxury limousines to pick up their fiancés from federal penitentiaries while wearing full bridal gowns.
Yeah.
These shows belong in the Library of Congress. Future anthropologists will need this footage to understand the exact moment society traded its dignity for 15 minutes of broadcast notoriety.
You are so incredibly dark, but you are not wrong. The audacity is historical. And speaking of audacity, let's look at how these reality stars actually communicate their life events to the public in our next segment, Who Would Hard Launch First?
Ah, the mechanics of the hard launch.
Angelina taking those tests, calling John Donor on speakerphone, but intentionally not posting the pregnancy on her Instagram grid yet. It brings up a fascinating debate.
The clout debate. In the modern era, an event does not actually exist until it has been officially launched on the grid.
Exactly. So who in the reality TV landscape would be the absolute fastest hard launch, massive life-changing news, and who would hold it back?
It is entirely dependent on the motivation. Are they launching for joy or are they launching for monetization?
Well, I think Snooki is the ultimate unintentional hard launcher. She possesses zero impulse control. I can easily envision a scenario where she is doing an Instagram live from her closet, drinking a glass of wine, doing a makeup tutorial, and just casually chatting with her followers.
Oh, she would spill everything.
And without any strategic thought, she would just blurt out, "Oh yeah, by the way, I bought a new house in Florida," or "Deena is pregnant again." She loves the interaction so much that the secrets just fall out of her mouth.
An accidental wine-fueled live stream leak is highly probable for Snooki. But if we are talking about the intentional, weaponized hard launch, like maximum clout, maximum engagement, the undisputed champion is Angelina.
But wait, she hasn't posted about this current pregnancy on her grid. She is keeping it quiet.
Only because she is contractually obligated by the network to hold the spoiler until the episode airs. But analyze her core personality. Angelina lives for the drama of the reveal.
She does love attention.
She would absolutely hard launch a wedding, a pregnancy, or a divorce before she even notified her extended family. She would coordinate a fully sponsored, high-resolution photo shoot with a tabloid magazine. The woman called a civilian on speakerphone from a public restroom while wearing a microphone pack. She requires the audience reaction to validate her experience.
I cannot argue with that logic.
Yeah.
She is a master of the transactional life event. I can already see the Instagram post, a heavily filtered maternity photo featuring a discount code for prenatal gummies in the caption.
Use promo code AngelinaBaby for 20% off your first order. It is inevitable.
It is incredibly inevitable. Well, speaking of things that are inevitable, the ice in my glass is completely melted, and I think the Paloma has finally fully hit my bloodstream.
The hypothalamus has been regulated.
Which means it is time to bring this entire massive conversation full circle with our final segment, the frozen drink personality test. We need to assign the cast members their frozen drink personalities.
I appreciate the symmetry here. Applying mixology to the psychological profiles of reality television stars is exactly why we do this.
I will start. Based entirely on her energy in Season 9, I am assigning Sammi Giancola a frozen frosé.
Break down the flavor profile and the psychological correlation for me.
Okay, so a frozen frosé is visually stunning. It is pale pink. It is sweet. It looks entirely harmless. You see someone drinking it on a patio and you think that is a gentle, aesthetic daytime beverage.
A brunch staple.
But if you consume it without paying attention, The sheer volume of hidden alcohol will completely knock you off your feet. It is stealthy, just like Sammi.
Oh, that's good.
She sits there looking beautiful and calm while secretly managing an entire IVF journey, hiding a pregnancy, and successfully tricking a house full of professional alcoholics by pouring fake wine down a sink. Seemingly harmless, secretly lethal.
That is an incredibly accurate assessment. Stealthy and potent. All right, I am assigning Angelina her beverage. Angelina is a frozen mudslide.
A mudslide? Why a mudslide?
Because it is fundamentally chaotic. A frozen mudslide is messy. It has chocolate syrup dripping aggressively down the sides of the glass, staining your hands. It is extremely heavy on the dairy.
Heavy dairy in the sun.
And you are consuming this heavy dairy when you absolutely know, biologically, that you should not be consuming dairy. It is guaranteed to cause severe gastrointestinal distress later in the evening, but in the moment, when it is sitting in front of you, you cannot look away. You have to consume the mess.
Oh my God.
That is the exact energy Angelina brings to the shore house. You know it is going to end badly, but you cannot stop watching.
Consuming dairy when you know you shouldn't is the most profound metaphor for Angelina's romantic choices I have ever heard.
Yeah.
That is brilliant. Okay, what about Mike?
Mike is a frozen margarita, but with a highly specific modification. It requires an aggressively thick, heavy salt rim.
Because he's constantly salty.
He is perpetually salty, and the bartender always overfills the glass, so the frozen mixture is constantly spilling over the edges, making a mess on the bar. Mike cannot contain his contents. He spills everything. He is an overfilled, salty margarita.
Perfect. Okay, last one. We have to do Pauly D.
Pauly D is the easiest profile on the board. He is a frozen Red Bull vodka.
Yes, absolutely yes.
It is pure, unadulterated, entirely artificial energy. It glows a terrifying, unnatural shade of neon yellow. It is the exact chemical compound required to keep a human being awake, screaming, and fist-pumping for 95 consecutive days without a single carbohydrate in their system.
The accuracy is staggering. A frozen Red Bull vodka is Pauly D distilled into liquid form. Oh, babes, this has been such a massive journey today. We have traveled from the sociology of dirty bathroom grout to the legalities of speakerphone pregnancies to the absolute tragedy of the 95-day carb fast.
It is an emotional marathon. Reality television provides an endless well of psychological data, and I'm grateful we have the space to analyze it.
It is the ultimate case study. Well, Snark Squad, thank you so much for starting your weekend with us. We live for unpacking this absolute madness, and we hope it gave you the perfect reset.
We truly do. But now, the interrogation pivots to the listener. You have heard our extensive theories, and now we require your data. We need you to go to the comments and answer 3 critical questions. First, what reality show do you believe deserves to last forever? What goes into your personal Hall of Fame?
Second, if you received massive, life-altering news tomorrow, who's the very first person you would tell? Are you a vault like Sammi, or are you hard launching it on the grid immediately? And finally, what is your ultimate frozen drink personality? Because the Palomas were highly effective, but we are always taking applications for new summer aesthetics.
Please leave your answers below, and do not forget the logistical housekeeping. Like the video, subscribe to the feed, and absolutely send in your own messy stories, secret confessions, and petty observations. We want to read your chaos.
Send them all. So until next week, stay nostalgic.
Stay messy.
And we will see you on the Snark side.
But seriously, 95 days without bread. Take a moment this weekend, look at a carbohydrate, and just appreciate the serotonin it provides. Have a great weekend.